Hi, welcome back to the Positive Prepper. Uh, Before I get into the meat of this video, just a couple things to bear in mind if you are not aware of this already. The mayor of Washington, D.C. is already telling residents there to self-ration. Because of the shortages going on, they want people to ration themselves on the goods and products that they're buying. I just thought that was interesting. The second thing is monoclonal antibody treatments are being restricted because they don't work against Omicron. I would argue that neither does the snake bite, but we're not restricting that. I've heard and talked to several people who had the antibody treatment, and it seems to have worked really well for them. I don't know a lot about it. I'm not a medical doctor. I need to do more investigating into all of that. But in my opinion, just on the surface of it, if it's not working against this variant, then it's not working in the same way that the snake bite's not working against it. Why is that being restricted and not the other? So then another point is that I've been doing a lot of research on the corn yield that we may or may not have this year. And everything is pointing to a really extremely low corn yield globally. The price of fertilizer has gone way up, and a lot of farmers are turning to soybeans, but even if they've prepaid for the soybeans, that doesn't mean that they're going to get them, because the soybean seeds are also in shortage. But it's the corn that, we should be paying attention to, because there's a lot of product that has corn in it and corn oil. So keep your eye on that. We all know that we are most likely heading for some sort of a stock market crash. We are in a recession right now. The Dow was down again today. I don't remember by how much. I watched it till like 2 o'clock, I think. And I think it made a little bit of gain at the end of the day. But it's still down. So that's going to be really important to watch. And I am going to do a video on that, on what that would look like and how that would impact you personally. But what I want to get to is... Oh, and I got one more. So if you go to the Chinese equivalent of the CDC, they have over 2,500 cases of that hemorrhagic fever. Olympics start 2 weeks away. Should we be concerned that they're not being honest about the extent that people have this and what that might mean for Olympians in China? Just a thought. So the title for this video was War Dominoes. So what do I mean by that? Well, we all know that the person sitting in the White House right now pretty much gave Russia a green light to go into Ukraine. Now, whether Russia actually does it or not, who knows? They are amassing and spending a lot of money and resources for this to not have any sort of outcome for them. So I think it's probably inevitable, especially around the time, probably just after or towards the latter part of the Olympics. Because Russia's been known to do that. But what do I mean by dominoes? Well, so let's say that, and I apologize, I have Meow Meow here, and she is in dire need of attention right now. She feels like she's been neglected all day. Um, let's say that Russia does go into Ukraine. And the United States, which we just sent another $200 million over there so that they can buy defensive stuff from Canada, which is probably made in Taiwan, and you get the picture, right? So we've already sent Ukraine over $600 million in aid. And it sounds like now we're gearing up to send over 8,000 troops over there. So we are making an investment in this war. It's kind of funny how all of a sudden borders matter, doesn't it? They don't care about our southern border, but, you know, we got to protect that Ukrainian border. No offense to people in Ukraine, but it's not our border that we are protecting, that we should be protecting. So, in my very limited, small-minded view, if Russia goes into Ukraine and the United States is getting ooh sparkly over here, and then China, because China and Putin decides to go into Taiwan at the same time, or thereabout. So now we have a European war and we have an Asian war going on. And then, because now the United States is trying to defend two fronts, Iran decides to go after Israel. So now we have a Middle Eastern crisis. Okay? So now the United States, we don't care about our own borders. We're paying attention to Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel, right? And then North Korea is like, oh, they ain't got nobody left at home. Because remember, North Korea doesn't want our land. They would just rather see us dead. So that gives North Korea the time and the opportunity to send some of those missiles over here that could strike us, or China as well. You know, it's sort of a domino effect. War doesn't happen because of one particular event, right? Especially World War. It happens because of a set of circumstances and events that happen that escalate and end up being, you know, the shot heard around the world. Everybody calls that the fuse that lit the war, but that fuse had actually been burning for a long time. So that's what I see happening. You know, we could have absolutely a world war, but don't think of that in terms of just Russia and Ukraine. There are a lot of other areas that we need to pay attention to. As well as what is going on inside of our own borders here. So, what do we have to gain from this? What would be the reason that we would want to get into something like this? Well, I said in one of my last videos, I believe, that the Blue Party is going to panic. And they will do everything that they can because they know at midterms in November it's going to not turn out well for them at all. And that will be the end of their ability to affect the socialist change that they want to affect. And so if we get into an escalated situation of war, would that stop the midterms or prolong it, postpone it, whatever? I don't know. I believe that Congress has to pass a resolution allowing us to go to war, and I imagine, and I don't know, maybe one of you guys knows this better, but would Joe then be able to just say, well, we're going to hold off midterms because we have a national emergency and all of this is going on? You know, I don't know the answer to that, but is it a possibility? Yeah. Uh, another possibility for the reason to do this and to protect Ukraine is because of the person that's sitting in the White House and his son. They don't want their dealings exposed, and so they're kind of held with their feet to the fire. If you don't help us, we're going to tell the world about you and your son. Now, would they have that much power? I would imagine, based on the relationship that they have with not just Ukraine, but China as well. And then we also know that another reason that this would be something that they would want to get into is because the military-industrial complex gets extremely rich from this. And who has ties in the military-industrial complex? A lot of your congressmen and senators. And so, I come from a military family. I have a son that's in the military. This is in no way relation to the troops, okay? I just want to make that clear. But the industrial complex of military means that those who manufacture the resources that get used in a war become very wealthy, and all of these government contracts happen with businesses, and they get extremely rich. And some of the ones that have ties to those businesses are in Congress and Senate. So that's not a left or right thing. I think there's a number of them that make money on it. So those are just 3 reasons that I think that this may happen, that this is a very real thing. Although, again, we prepare for the worst, right? But we always hope for the best. So, and we know that in end times also, the Bible also talks a lot about wars and rumors of war, right? But with that, I also want you to remember that I want you to watch over here because this is going on over here. So is this just a false flag to keep our focus off the stuff going over here, which, you and I both know there's a lot wrong with what's going on over here, right? And so they want to get our eyes focused over here. But if a world war, and I'm talking a global world war, were to break out, there's a couple of things that I could see. Number one, we are already in an economic plunge, and I think that would put us as far to the bottom of a depression as we could get. And I think it would go beyond Great Depression impact. Panic, people are going to panic buy. That's already going to strain the supply chain that's already strained. And it's going to cost something that we just don't have. Our country is out of money. And so it's going to put a huge strain. You have to remember that back in World War II, we made a lot of the things that were needed for war. We don't make those things anymore. So that's not going to reset our economy. It's going to tank it, in my opinion. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. The second thing that I think we would see is probably more loss of freedom. It very well could be if there are, if there's a threat for our homeland to be invaded or missiles sent over, what have you, it would mean, martial law and loss of freedoms, and they would rebuild from that, keeping those loss of freedoms in place. That is something that we all should be very concerned about, no matter what side of the aisle that you're on. And then again, I think the last thing that I would say is that, we're already in a very chaotic time, if you will. We have crime that's just incessantly increasing. We have leaders, people in charge that have no clue what they're doing to stem that. And I believe that that organization of crime is going to strengthen. And, if we're in a world war over there, right, I very well could see our own civil war here happening at the same time. So that's just my thoughts. Again, this isn't fear-mongering. This is just my opinion about what could happen. There's a lot of people out there smarter than me that, I would love to hear what you guys think about all of this as far as prepping goes. Somebody asked me a question the other day, and I don't remember who it was. It was somebody I was actually talking face to face with. And one of the questions they said was, we do all of this prepping, but what if, and this is somebody that's not been a long-term prepper, okay? This is a very new prepper. And this person said, well, what if we prep for 2 years and we've got all this food and our medical supplies, and we're spending money on defense and all of that, but what if nothing happens? And my response was, that's what prepping is. It's, it's hoping and praying for the best, but we have to prepare for the worst. It might not happen this year, but it could happen next year or the year after or the year after. Nobody is given timelines in a memo to preppers. Hey, by the way, SHTF is going to happen on February 3rd, right? We don't get those memos. So we always have to be prepared, and be prepared and aware from which direction that SHTF might come. So keep prepping, always. Stay aware of what's going on, and God bless.